what's up you guys? It's me, Dina from Dina's TV. So in this video, I'm going to be explaining about how to start a ketogenic diet to make sure that you're using your own fat for energy. I did a video, the last video that I did, I explained who should be going on a ketogenic diet. I explained for people who carry a lot of weight around their stomach, who have high insulin or insulin resistance. But if you are type 1 diabetic, I highly recommend that you go to a doctor because you have to measure and control it. So if you're type 1, I don't think it's the right thing for you to just jump into this diet on your own. All right, so I'm gonna explain a couple of things before I go into the topic, because I'm gonna be doing a series about this diet because I've helped transform so many people on this diet, and I have all my clients test their blood, do all the type of testings before they start the diet, and then 10 weeks later to see how their body adapted to it and to check everything to make sure that they're in the best health. And I know some people might bash me about this diet, and I'm not the type of person who's gonna be like all about keto and my whole Instagram's gonna be about keto. Honestly, I recommend a balanced diet. I don't recommend taking a complete macro or nutrient out of your diet and limiting yourself from foods that are very healthy for us. But for someone that's having hormonal imbalances, in order for them to lose weight, they need to eat specific foods and go on a certain diet like this that would allow them to balance those hormones, be in their best health, so that they can be on a balanced diet and still be able to burn fat efficiently. So if you're someone that's struggling to lose weight and you carry a lot of weight around your stomach, this diet will really help you, and it's healthy. I'm gonna explain in all the videos, in the upcoming videos, on how to do everything in a very healthy way, okay? So this video is just gonna be on how to measure and make sure that you're even able to use your own fat for energy, because it's very important that you know the ratio and you know how to calculate it. Now, I don't want you to obsess over calories and numbers. I'm not the type of person where I have my clients sit there and count their calories and stuff. But when it's this type of diet, you're gonna have to, in order for you to take and reap the best benefits out of it. Because if you don't, then you might not be using your fat for energy, and you can feel fatigue, and you can feel like you don't have energy. So that's why it's important that you do it this way. All right, and I'm gonna show you how right now. I'm gonna try to keep this video as simple as possible. I remember when I first started studying, I was like, what is this? Everything seems so complicated. I don't know what these words mean. So I'm just really gonna try to simplify it as best as I can. Okay, let me just jump into it. So, how much should you eat? Now, there are macros, okay? Macros, we have protein, we have our fats, and we have our carbs. Your proteins will be like your fish, your meats, your chicken. And then you have your fats like your nuts and oil. And then you have your carbs, and you have your carbs like fruits and vegetables and rice and potatoes and bread and stuff like that, okay? So, this is the ratio it has to be in order for you to get in what we call ketosis, okay? What is ketosis? Ketosis means when your liver starts to produce something called ketone bodies. They're basically water-soluble molecules that allow your body to use your fat for energy. But the only way to do that is when you completely deplete your muscles and your liver out of carbs. See, carbs is what gives us energy. We eat potato, we eat rice, we eat bread, and then our body turns that into sugar into our body so that we can use it for energy. But when we remove all of it away, now it forms something called ketone bodies, and then it allows us to tap into our own fat for energy, okay? So just to simplify, but I'm gonna do many videos explaining topic by topic, okay? Now, you're gonna think right now, okay, how am I supposed to calculate this? A great free app called MyFitnessPal. A lot of people already know it, but they don't really know how to use it. In this app, I'm gonna do a video, and I'm gonna record a separate video right after this, and I'm gonna record my screen, and I'm gonna show you step by step how to do it, okay? So you're gonna have 20% protein, 75% fat, and 5% carbs. But you wanna make sure that you get those carbs from your vegetables, okay? And the reason for this is because if you have too much protein, that protein can actually turn into sugar, okay? Which I will explain now in a bit, but I want you to understand why it's so important. Because you might see this and say, oh, okay, I'm just gonna eyeball things, you know what I mean? But you can't really do that if you really wanna reap the benefits out of it, okay? So I hope you guys can see this. I see in the video in the camera, it doesn't seem like it's very clear, but I'll find better ways on how to do it right now so that you guys can actually see what I'm writing, okay? Now, the most important thing for you to understand is that when you go on a diet like this, now you're having a lot of fat in your body, right? It's gonna make you feel so much fuller for longer periods of time. And over time, you will start to eat less, and you'll probably eat less frequent meals, which are amazing because I explained in the last video, we want to avoid snacking, we want to avoid frequent meals throughout the day so that we can bring that fat storing hormone that's called insulin down, okay? But if you eat, say for an example, you're eating 3 meals a day and you're having 1,800 calories, okay? Now say for an example, you're not hungry when you wake up and you don't want to eat breakfast, and now you're going to have 2 meals. But when you do that, your macros are going to change. So say for an example, you calculated everything one day and you're like, you know what? Okay, this is what my diet's going to be like. I'm just going to eat the same thing every day so I don't got to calculate. But then one day if you feel like, okay, now I cannot eat 3 meals anymore, I'm fuller and stuff, and now you're eating 1,500, you got to go in MyFitnessPal and you got to fix that, your macros and your goals, so that when you're putting your foods in to make sure that you're reaching this ratio, that it goes to the new amount of calories that you're eating. And I'm going to explain in the video, when you start, I first want you to put in your diary in the app what you've been eating right now on a regular basis, just so that you know how many calories are you eating. Because at the end of the day, if you eat more energy than you burn, you will gain weight. So it's important that you know how much calories you're having, so that you know, you're like, okay, I'm eating 1,500. So now all you got to do is just change the ratio and keep it at 1,500. And then slowly it will start to lower if you want to. But it's important that you do that, because say for an example, you actually have 1,000 calories a day, and now you go on this diet because fat has much higher calories, that now you're eating 3,000. You're going to gain weight. You're going to be like, oh my God, this keto is not really helping me. I'm not losing weight. So that's why it's important to understand how many calories you are having. So then now when you go on this diet, you're not eating much more calories, okay? I hope I'm making it very clear. What else? Yes, now the protein part, it's called gluconeogenesis, okay? Our body demands carbs. Not that much carbs, 15% our body needs those carbs, but it doesn't need from an external factor. If we deplete our body out of carbs, our body will always try to find ways to break down other compounds in our body and turn it into sugar. And it does that through protein. One of those are the main sources that it can do that from. So if you have too much protein, it will turn it into sugar and it will kick you out of what's called the ketogenic diet, ketosis. So you need to make sure that you're in that stage of ketosis in order for you to burn fat, okay? The next thing I wanted to bring up, which I'm going to do an entire topic about that, is fruits on a ketogenic diet, okay? The thing is, the way our body breaks down fruits and utilize it for energy is completely different than what it does with rice, potatoes, and other sources of carbs, okay? We have glucose, we have fructose. Glucose comes from the rice and the bread and the pasta, and then we have fructose that comes from our fruits. And the way our liver breaks it down and utilizes it for energy is completely different. So when you're on this type of diet, the type of fruits you would be eating, just to make it short, would be like berries, blackberries, strawberries, because they're very low in the glycemic index. The way, you know, you can eat at least maybe 1/4 cup, maybe 1/2 cup, no more than that. And I only recommend those kind of fruits, but I'm gonna do a separate topic. But just in case if you get super excited and you start your diet tomorrow, I just want you to be aware of that, okay, when it comes to the fruits, okay? Veggies on keto is the most important thing, okay? It's very important that we get those green vegetables in our diet to make sure that we increase something that's called bile production that will allow your body to even break down the fats and absorb the nutrients from the fats. Because now your body's going through a completely different metabolic adaptation. Before, we've been living our entire life off of carbs, and now we're changing the entire energy source and we're using our fat for energy. So you're gonna go through different adaptations. You even might get what we call a keto flu, where you'll get sick. But if you do it right and you do the things that I'm gonna share with you in the upcoming videos this week, then you won't get sick, okay? But it's normal for that to happen because your body's going through a different energy source. It doesn't mean that it's not healthy, okay? What else did I wanna bring up? Just if you really wanna make sure that you're in ketosis, you can go to the pharmacy and you can buy what's called keto strips. And then you can, I think, you know, piss on it and you check, you know, what level you're on. It'll show you what stage you're at, if you're in full-blown ketosis or if you're just reaching there, because to form ketones, it will take a couple of days. But to actually be full-blown ketosis, everyone is different. You know, everyone's lifestyle is different. Everyone, the way they used to eat is different. So if you're someone who's been eating junk food and a lot of processed food and sugar and all that stuff, it's gonna take longer to burn out that sugar. But if you're someone who exercises a lot and you're doing full body workouts and you're activating those muscles and you're doing high intensity interval training, you're gonna burn out that sugar in your body much faster than someone who's not exercising, for an example, okay? So when you're doing this type of diet, in order for you to feel better and get those benefits of the energy and the clarity and the focus, you would want to exercise so that you can get into that ketosis much faster. The next topics that I'm going to bring up this week that are upcoming are going to be how to avoid getting the keto flu. So knowing what to incorporate in your diet to make sure that you feel good and you don't get migraines, you're not dehydrated, you know, you don't get a keto flu and nauseous and stuff like that. And then keto mistakes, to what to avoid that usually people do when they're starting the ketogenic diet. What else did I want to bring up? Yes, I did a podcast. For those who don't know, I have a podcast. I haven't been uploading podcasts lately because I've been having different priorities, and I said, you know what, I don't have that many people on my podcast, so I need to do more videos on my Instagram because that's where most of the people that are following my content are on Instagram. So I said, you know what, let me explain some things on there so that they know what my podcast is about and actually go listen to it. You know what I mean? So I have a podcast all about intermittent fasting, okay? I'm not going to talk about that in this video because then it'll be too long. I already spoke, actually, it's too long. But you go check it out and you combine this with this, double whammy. You're going to be like, boom, burning fat like crazy, okay? But when you're doing this and you're not exercising or you haven't been eating clean, I don't want you to feel overwhelmed and do everything at once. Take one step at a time, especially when you're starting a diet like this. If you've been eating a lot of carbs and now you completely deplete yourself from carbs, it's gonna be really tough. You know what I mean? Your body's going through a transition. Actually, carbs, the way it reacts to our brain, the sugar and all those foods that we eat, these fast absorbing carbs, is like drugs. It's exactly like drugs, the way it affects our hormones in the brain. So now when we take that out of our body, we go through a withdrawal, just like someone would go through when they stop taking drugs. So you might feel like this diet isn't for you, you don't feel good, you're like, I need carbs. That's how your body's gonna feel like. So don't judge it too soon. That's just your body going through that transition. And then once it does, you're gonna feel amazing. At the end of the day, you gotta see what works for you, okay? But don't judge too soon. Any diet that you do it for a couple of months, a month, 2 months before you judge it. I would say do a diet like this for like 3 months and then slowly get back into your carbs and go on to a balanced diet. Until you lost some weight, you balanced your hormones out. Depends what your goal is. If it's just for weight loss, you do it for a couple of months until you lost your weight, and then you go into a normal diet. It's just so that you can, you know, burn fat faster in a healthy way. Why not, if you're doing it right, you know? And if it's not a negative thing for your body. Back in the day, people used to eat like this, you know, naturally. You know what I mean? This is not a diet that came a couple of years ago. They started giving this to patients with epilepsy since the 1920s. But then they saw the benefits that it has on the body and how it makes the body burn a fat efficiently and clarity and focus and all that. Now people started using this as a diet, as a lifestyle. So yeah, I don't want this to be too long. I see it's 14 minutes. All right, you guys, if you have any questions, just leave a comment below. I'm gonna share the video on how to calculate it, so stay tuned and look at the next video coming up, all right? I hope you guys understood everything, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.